for like new fans, I think they've done an amazing job of getting them on board, which I think is why this has also been so successful. What is this vault? What's its thing?
Yeah.
Trying to understand it. For new people, they're like, okay, cool. This is like vault, like, and because they've picked like a seemingly perfect vault, it gave me.
Everyone wants to live out a heist fantasy.
It almost gave me like big Shawshank Redemption vibes and Prison Break vibes of like that.
Yeah, the horniness of this show
Yeah, honestly,
is so well
it
executed.
was such a subtle little like, almost flies under the radar little like comment from him. Yeah, I think unfortunately this trailer made me realize I was like, what I had in my head of what I wanted from a Transformers like lent towards all the anime I've been watching with mechs, and then I was like, oh wait, this is a film for kids.
Hello, and welcome to episode 111 of
Mm.
Cutscene Convos, an absolute monumentous episode. We have got character profile on the one and only Bishop. We have got episode 6 of X-Men 97. We've got episode 13 of The Bad Batch. We've got the entirety of season 1 of Fallout. We've got a jam-packed Nerd News Network, and that is jam-packed, make no mistake. But for all that good stuff, Horizontal, how's your week been?
My week's been good. As I think I said last week's episode, I had a wedding at the weekend, so that was a lot of fun. Had a nice time. Was plenty drunk. Good time spent with family.
All went off without a problem.
Yeah. They even had a dog as their dog was the ring bearer, and it was very well behaved. It was very interested in all the guests that were eating food and wanted some attention. Because the groom is known for loving crisps.
Got ya.
And that was one of the things he would always only eat as a kid. So when we got to the venue, there was like a crisp wall that you could go help yourself to, and bags of crisps. This dog sniffed out every person that had a bag of crisps. Literally would come up and he'd just look at you. And it's like, can I have a crisp? Can I have a crisp? People having to shoo it away. But yeah, it was a good time. And then just kind of chilled this week, done some more like just design projects and stuff and my own stuff. And yeah, it's kind of been a bit of a weird week weather-wise. That's kind of like thrown things. And yeah, just kind of chilled, caught up on shows and stuff after the weekend. But that's been my week. How's your week been?
How's my week been? My week has been pretty busy.
Oh.
We're getting closer to moving, so more and more bits are on the move constantly, which is just chaos as always.
Exciting.
We actually have Wi-Fi at the flat now, which is class.
Oh.
Sorted that out at the weekend, which is
nice.
good. What else did we do at the weekend? We were at a birthday party that turned into an engagement party.
Oh.
Yeah, so that was nice and exciting. So that was good. And then we'll get into it a little bit more later, but I've been playing Starfield after not playing it since just before Christmas, because having watched Fallout, I wanted to play Fallout. So I spent the £8 to buy Fallout 4 on PC.
Mm-hmm.
And that included all the DLC and everything.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, oh, class, installed it, and like the sound's broken because Bethesda games.
Oh, what a shame.
But they're releasing an update for PC and next gen consoles in like a week.
Right.
So I'm like, you know what, I will wait for that before like headbutting my setup trying to work this out, and I'll just find another Bethesda-esque game that I like. So I was like, fuck it, we'll play some more Starfield. So I'm enjoying playing that. And I've re-downloaded Fallout Shelter on my phone, which is one of the best mobile games out there.
I forgot about that
game. Fallout Shelter was a really solid game.
It was. I remember it. Because it's free as well, isn't it?
Yeah, completely free.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's kind of all I've been doing this week. The boys haven't been about, so I've not streamed at all this week. So it's just been a weird one. Very alien feeling. But let's get into it because we've got a lot to cover.
We do.
This week's character profile is on Bishop.
Mm.
Lucas Bishop, aka Bishop, first appeared in Uncanny X-Men number 282 in September 1991. In the not too distant dystopian future, Bishop was born into a family of mutants inside a mutant concentration camp. After the Sentinels had killed the X-Men and imparted martial dictatorial law onto the world, branded with an M tattoo over his right eye so that he was always easily identifiable as a mutant, he was raised alongside his sister to be angry at the world. But more specifically, this anger took form against the mutant Messiah, who had killed millions of humans years before, which resulted in the long-running genocide and imprisonment of mutant kind that he was suffering from. As he grew up, he watched his mother die and lost contact with his sister and grandmother when humans and mutants worked together to overthrow the Sentinel armies and free these mutants. However, there were still many humans afraid of mutants, and this, alongside with the years of abuse, would create the Exhumes, a group of mutant extremists who wanted revenge against humanity. After numerous years, Bishop would come to view these extremists as heroes. For a long time, he searched for his sister and grandmother. Eventually, he managed to find his way to Vegas, where he found his sister and grandmother. At this point, seeing the anger in her grandson's eyes, she began to tell him and his sister stories of the old warriors of peace and justice for humanity and mutants alike, the X-Men, led by mutant idealist Charles Xavier, whose example she begged her grandchildren to follow. Shortly after, Bishop's grandmother would pass away, leaving them with only each other. Not long after this, Bishop and his sister would be attacked by Exhumes, only to be saved by the XSE, or Xavier Security Enforcers. This interaction caused Bishop to closely examine his thoughts about who were the real heroes and villains. This would lead to Bishop joining the XSE in an attempt to follow the footsteps laid out for him by the legendary X-Men. Unbeknownst to him, he would end up chasing a criminal through a time portal, which would leave him stranded back in history around the same time as the X-Men. And he began to try and work out how he could affect time to stop his future from playing out the way it does, and instead tried to make future brighter for all. On numerous occasions, this has led to infighting, as his willingness to kill people he deems a risk to the ideal future very rarely aligns with what Professor X and the X-Men are willing to accept or go along with.
Mm.
That is Bishop. Bishop's a fucking awesome character. And it's interesting because he is like so clearly a good guy,
Yeah.
but it's a good guy who's come up through war, so it's just kind of no people. He's seen the concentration camps. He grew up in the concentration camps. He is not too dissimilar to Magneto.
Mm. Yeah.
In
That's what I was thinking.
like, and that's why Magneto is the way he is. The only difference is Bishop just wants a better future
Mm.
because he knows he's in the past. Whereas Magneto's like, no, I'm never going to let this happen again. So we need to wipe out the humans before they try and wipe us out.
Yeah.
And as a result, Bishop's just a little bit more carefree when it comes to ending life compared to the X-Men and Professor X.
Yeah, he almost gives me as well like TVA vibes of
Big time.
getting the correct future and the perfect timeline.
Yeah, you've got to remember he comes like this character was written in during like the 90s
Mm.
when Terminator had just changed media. So this idea of man from future comes back to fix
Save.
thing that
Yeah.
hasn't actually happened yet. It was a hot topic
Mm.
in the world of storytelling, and everyone wanted their slice of that pie. But a very, very cool character. We didn't even really
Yeah.
get onto his power of energy projection, where you shoot energy at him, he will absorb it and then redirect it himself, which is just awesome.
Yeah. It is really cool.
And it'd be really cool to see Bishop. I know he was in Days of Future Past in the bit set in the far future, but it'd be cool to see more of Bishop in live action for sure.
Yeah. That would be cool.
Speaking of the X-Men, should we get on to
Mm.
X-Men 97 episode 6?
Yes.
Life Death Part 2.
Another great episode.
Yeah, so by the end of the episode, it kind of becomes apparent that this episode was taking place alongside last week's episode.
Yeah.
Um, which I think is kind of a good way to give everyone a bit of a breather from the
Mm-hmm.
aftermath of last
Yeah.
week without
Those will
it feeling pointless.
mentally recover.
Yeah. So we got the rest of Storm's storyline from 2 weeks ago,
Yep.
in the Jubilee episode. And we finally got to know where Charles Xavier's been because, as we all know, no one actually dies in the comic books. They just disappear for a little while.
This is true.
So, really interesting.
Yeah, we had a bit of essentially like a lovers episode.
Yeah,
Two
very
different
much.
couples. I thought the Storm storyline was good. I feel like they wrapped it up quite well. I have seen bits where people like they wish they'd given it a bit more kind of time and depth to it.
Yes, I think
But,
it's really tricky when there's a popular storyline that you want to give some respect to, but doesn't have a lot of place in the story you're trying to tell. I don't think they shoehorned it in. I think they balanced it quite nicely. But if that's one of your like favorite stories from the comics, you might be sitting there going, "Oh, I wish that had a bit more time to breathe."
yeah, it feels like maybe they rushed it a bit. If that is, like you say, if that's one of your favorite ones for Storm or whatever. But I thought the whole kind of wrap up of that and her facing it like this demon and everything, and then complete level up. It feels like now she's got her powers back. New vibe, new visual.
The animation for her realizing she was like holding herself back and reclaiming her power was so good.
Oh yeah, it was so well animated.
Yeah, really well put together. The owl going from like filling up the entire screen every time you saw it to being in the screen with something else to make it look smaller and weaker was really well thought out.
Yeah.
The voice going from being quite deep and booming to a little bit meeker and quieter, just to give this impression that Storm has just gone, "No, I am the queen of the weather. You will bow before me." Is so
and
cool.
Like her voice and stuff going on the flip side, like it becoming back to that like booming goddess voice that she had at the first few episodes. Oh, yeah, it was very well. That whole like reawakening was very well kind of animated and put together.
Yeah. And it was really cool to see them explore the notion of her guilt, where she was like, "Oh, I'd love to know what a human lives like not that long before," and realizing that actually she's scared of her powers, but now she hates that she doesn't have them, and this, that, and the other. And it's kind of it's everyone has them kind of things about themselves that are unique to that person.
Yep.
And maybe it makes them stand out, makes them feel a bit isolated, and they kind of wish they didn't have them. But if they didn't have them, they would then feel like shit about it.
Yeah.
Which is, I mean, completely fair and realistic thing to tell a story surrounding, even if it is dramatized with a demon owl and superpowers.
Yeah.
It's so crazy because at the end of the day, these like X-Men 97, I think has had some of the best storylines in superhero TV we've probably ever seen. Because in reality, none of them really care about the fact that the characters have powers or not. It's all just very
Yeah.
realistic stories, just with the added caveat of the people involved have
Yeah.
powers, just to dress their problems up in a slightly different way.
And then, I mean, we're on the flip. We had good old Professor X chilling
Yeah,
out in outer space.
yeah. Did you
Um,
enjoy seeing Ronan the Conqueror?
yeah, I was going to bring that up. The bit of Ronan and Kree. Oh, obviously
Yeah,
for comic book fans, like he's not anything new, but for like MCU fans who only have seen him in the films, a bit of an Easter egg
yeah.
for them.
Um, but yeah, it just goes to show that, like, although we're mainly focused on Earth, in the old X-Men comic and the X-Men basically forever have always had pretty strong ties to what's going out in space in general. That's always been
Well, yeah, there's
not
certain
too far away from what the X-Men are dealing with.
yeah, because of like their powers and their links to different other superheroes and stuff. You're
Exactly.
obviously going to get involved.
Um,
Did you enjoy Professor X being a bit of a little beta when she's like, "You can bark later," and he's like, "Oh, okay."
the horniness of this show
Yeah, honestly,
is so well
it was
executed.
such a subtle little like, almost goes flies under the radar little like comment from him.
Do you know what it is? It's prime Saturday morning kids cartoons with an adult
Yeah,
joke in it.
yeah, it
And that's
is.
exactly what it needs to be. Because like X-Men had that initially back in the 90s. It
Mm-hmm.
had it. People like there would be something that's a little bit risque in there, but it would be hidden well enough that like kids wouldn't get it. And the mum or dad would just do like a little quick double take and then keep walking because they don't want to acknowledge it because then the child might ask questions. And it's the exact same thing.
It was. It was so well like just dropped in there. I was like, oh, cheeky. Um,
Um,
I enjoyed like that whole site and seeing Professor X his struggle of not wanting to give up and forget the X Men and what he built there, which understandably so.
it was a case of him going, I don't want to leave the X-Men, I don't want to leave my world, but I want to be with you.
Mm-hmm,
And him being forced into a position where it is one or the other, for want of a better word. He's
mm-hmm,
either got to give up all of his earthly roots and forget everything, which you could question, would that even leave him as the same person?
mm,
Or he has to not be with the person he cares about, risk putting Earth in danger because they might attack Earth as a result.
mm-hmm.
Um, but he gets to have his X-Men and doesn't get a potentially happy ending. Um, I thought the way they decided to portray his psychic abilities
Oh, the classroom.
was very, very cool.
Yeah, I enjoyed the classroom little scene.
Um, and the way they then melded that in with what was happening in Genosha at the same time
Mm,
was genius. Because obviously everyone has their color schemes throughout this. Jean's psychic powers are always that pinky color.
mm-hmm.
So that pinky explosion of the globe was literally Jean's pain sending out the message of what had happened,
Yeah.
which is why then he gets these horrible visions of just these skeletons of his students because he taught mutant
Mm-hmm.
kind, and then most famously Gambit taking place of the Sentinel because he fought there. Like the imagery is just
Oh
stunning
yeah.
for it.
It was like the whole classroom thing was, I thought was like you say, really well done. And then there's like the funny moments of when he sits down the sister and she
Yeah,
doesn't like nope. And I love the constant put your hand up if you've got a question. Like constant teacher mode. But yeah, then when like the globe exploded, I'm like, oh shit, what's going on here? And Gambit appeared. It was kind of like that moment. I was like, wait, why is Gambit in his? And I was like, oh, this is now happening. I realized the timeline, like where we
yeah,
led, and I was like, oh shit, this is
yeah.
like you say, it was
He
so powerful with all the skeletons and stuff.
because this is exactly what it is. You've got to think about how many of his X-Men died out there.
Mm,
And so his classroom is just full of the skeletons of their bodies. Gambit, having obviously taken down the Sentinel, being used as like the main focal point,
mm-hmm,
was just genius art direction. But also the dichotomy of him talking about how we should all be together because
mm-hmm.
we're all from the ancient dust of the universe and we're all children of the atom, which was really beautiful to then see that rage of like they destroyed
Mm.
their brothers and sisters, because we all go, oh, it's so good. I've Although it's very early, it feels like, in a good way, they're trying to get to an almost Krakoan age where they'd formed Krakoa, and Xavier was a little bit more radical, not quite as idealistic, aligned a little bit more with Magneto.
Mm.
Cyclops had separated from him a little bit. It seems like they're
Yeah.
kind of like, bearing in mind we know they've written the first 2 seasons already.
Yep.
If in their head they're like, oh, we could do 5 seasons, this would be down for that. It might be a case of by the end of the 5th season they want to kind of be around there, which I don't necessarily think is a bad thing, because you've got to remember the X-Men, for better or worse, from like 2000. I mean, basically when the X-Men films we grew up with started coming
Yep.
out, so like 2001, Marvel basically shelved the X-Men as a comic line because they didn't want to give Fox ideas for free. Which
Yeah.
means a lot of the stuff that happened there won't be as much good stuff that they're desperate to adapt, because whether they publicly admit it or not, they were trying to kill off the X-Men and replace them with the Inhumans.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't be surprised if they try and kind of speed run us in that direction a little bit.
I can see your thought process. Definitely can see how, with the things that have just happened on Genosha, and like Charles have come back. Obviously, Magneto is in charge, and now like gone. X Men have died. Like, you can see how that's going to change him. We already see that Cyclops is kind of breaking away a bit. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, I can see that being potentially the direction they're heading, for sure.
So next week's episode is called Bright Eyes.
Okay.
So that is the episode that I think is going to kind of explore Cable's time slipping to try and
Oh, yeah, you said.
get there in time with the music.
Mm-hmm.
I think that could be like a half and half episode, or it might end with him time slipping correctly. Because obviously we've now got to deal with Professor X and Storm presumably returning to the X-Men at the beginning of the next episode.
Yeah.
So it'll be very interesting to see how that gets handled and where we go from there. We are definitely going to get, like, as he's colloquially known, Old Testament Magneto once he gets resurrected, though. Because, once again, it's comic books, no one stays dead. Magneto will be coming back. Whether it's this season or next season, I don't know. And he is going to be full on eye for an eye, tooth for a tooth. He said to them in the second episode or whatever it was, I'm giving you a chance, don't make me regret this.
Mm.
And they've blown that trust out of the water.
Yeah, especially if it's like they essentially Cable stop or gets to them just before it all kicks off, so they're prepared. So then obviously more of them survive, and you can see Magneto surviving, and then he's just like, yeah, I'm done with this shit.
Exactly. And again, with the news reports saying like their home countries aren't allowing mutants back in there, leaving them stranded on Genosha. Motherfucker, that's enough to radicalize me, let alone an actual mutant. Do you know what I mean? Like, no,
Yeah,
you go save them people, and the entire UN right now should be hunting down
Mr.
realistically Trask, but then they should be able to work out it's Mr. Sinister
Yeah,
to go and, like, because like that is the highest level of war crime I think I've ever seen converted into any kind of watchable media,
mm.
i.e., outside of a written comic book. The man's literally dropped a walking, talking nuke onto Genosha.
Yeah,
Craziness. Mr. Sinister being the big bad of the entire series is interesting.
yeah. I like how
But
he keeps recropping up.
yeah, my understanding is the comic that's being adapted, he wasn't initially the bad guy.
Okay.
So I think people have kind of gone. It's a bit of a weird change, but because of the material that came before,
Yeah.
because this is a continuation of
Mm-hmm.
X-Men, it
Yep.
makes sense for it to be Mr. Sinister.
Yeah.
So by the sounds of it, it's a good change, or at least a change that makes sense. Which is, again, it's a good sign. It's one of these things. It's the first thing out of Marvel post-COVID where I've not seen a single complaint about the writing at any point.
Yeah, that's a good point, actually.
Like, yeah, we had the idiots going, "Oh my god, they've made the X-Men woke," but they're idiots who don't understand media. So,
And don't understand the
like,
X-Men.
exactly. So, like, that doesn't really count. But yeah, I mean, it's absolutely destroying it on all the rankings. Everyone loves every single episode. Um,
I mean,
I can't.
rightfully
I
so.
want more of it,
Yeah,
and I don't.
honestly.
I hope they manage to. Although obviously not whilst overworking anyone. I hope we don't have crazy long waits for each season.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
This was announced a while ago, and it took them a while to get going. Hopefully, they did. Bearing in mind, season 1 and 2 have both already been written. Hopefully, they did the voice acting for both kind of back to back,
Yeah, I'd like to
so
think
that it's
they just
just
kind
the
of kept
animation to be
going.
done. Yeah,
Yeah.
and then while they're getting the animation done for season 2, they can get the voice acting done for any future seasons.
Hmm.
I don't think they've officially been greenlit for anything more than 2
Not
seasons
really.
yet, but
At this rate,
this
I'd be a surprise if it's not.
this is the most successful animated thing Disney Plus has put out by quite a way. Like it's more being compared with their live action big budget shows than the animated shows they've put out. If for some reason this doesn't get a season 3 green light, I would be baffled.
Yeah, I'd
And
be
it
surprised if this doesn't get more like multiple seasons.
and with animation as well, you almost need to green light earlier rather than
Mm-hmm.
later, so that you don't have 2.5 years of downtime.
Yeah.
If they go, "Oh, we'll wait and see if season 2 does as well," and then they decide to green light, and then you've got 2 years where people could lose interest,
Mm.
get distracted by something else,
Yeah. No, you're right. They definitely need to. I'd imagine
like while the iron is
internally
hot.
they've probably already had some of these early conversations, but
Absolutely.
yeah, for sure.
More animated goodness. The
Mm.
Bad Batch, episode 13.
Yes, we've only got 2 more episodes after this one. It's
Is that right?
yeah. I
Oh,
checked.
Christ.
Yeah,
Oh,
it's I
Christ.
checked because this episode was quite clearly the build up to the heist. I was like, we must be coming close to the end with this now.
Yeah.
But yeah, what a build up episode.
It was really, really cool. It was cool to see Omega becoming a leader in her own right.
Going full
She
Bad Batch mode.
Yeah. She's come in, she's a bit nervous, she's trying to work out what's going on. She sees these other kids who, in reality, other than like the really young one, are a similar enough age to her.
Yep.
And instantly she's like, "Right, I've got a plan. Are you all in? Because I will get you out of here and I will get you back to your families and your homes. I just need you to trust me."
Yeah, it's that thing of like, she obviously going there was willingly went because she wanted to stop things, and also willingly went because she's like, well, I'll just break out. Like a bit of cockiness because she's been part of the Bad Batch, but it's like you say, yeah, she gets in there, and I think very quickly when she sees her doll was with one of the other ones, and then they're like, oh, Dr. Emery gave it us or gave it me. She's like, that all then clicks. She's like, okay, Emery is like,
She's a weak spot.
I can get through to her. She is, and like she understands, like thinking, oh, I've succeeded, I've got through to her. So she's like, okay, there's a weak spot there, and then it's like, right, well, I've already broke out of here once, I can do it again. And if not, they'll be coming to get me anyway. So either
Yeah.
way, and yeah, she goes straight into work mode of like figuring out how to escape.
It like it's a dying art, but the storytelling around a heist and planning a heist, whether that's a breakout or a traditional heist or whatever,
Mm.
there's something about it that itches a part of my brain. Or it's just like no, we got to do this, then we got to do this, and then we're gonna do this, and I need you to cover for me. I'm like, yeah, it's one of them
Yeah,
things that
it
you
gave
always
me.
everyone wants to live out a heist
It
fantasy.
almost gave me like big Shawshank Redemption vibes and Prison Break vibes of like that.
Yeah,
I'm gonna get us out. I'm getting out of here. You can come with me or not, but I'm gonna get us all out. And then
yeah,
it's like, right, you're gonna watch me. I've got an idea. We get the whole tense thing of she goes to a cell, starts fiddling with the walls, finds it's hollow. She can, and then the whole accident that gets bigger. While we've got this build up of the doctor that's clearly gonna like undermine Emery and go
Yeah,
behind her back.
absolutely.
Is like
Absolutely.
coming up, and you get this build up of tension that you do in the prison films, like Prison Break films, of like a guard coming along. You're like, oh, are they gonna find out? And then it's like, nope, she's just sat there chilling, like everything's
Yeah.
normal.
What's up, Doc?
Yeah.
Anything I can do to help?
Meanwhile, we've got Bad Batch Boys. I have to say, I was very sad they scrubbed the color and everything off their armor,
Yeah.
but it kind of is showing that like that thing of they, at the end of the day, all that like none of that matters. They will do whatever it takes to get Omega back,
Oh
even if
yeah,
that means like
they're
scrubbing old memories away or whatever.
they are all in full on dad mode.
Yep.
Rampart's like, we didn't agree to that, and they're like, we will literally cut you up piece by piece if you don't agree to do this. That's our little girl in there.
It's like, how am I supposed to trust you? The same way you expect us to trust you. Neither of us want to be doing this, but here we are. You want
And
out,
we're the
we
only
want
one with
Omega
gun.
back. I did actually enjoy the whole. I was like, when they were going to Coruscant, I was like, this seems like a scam. But that whole build up, and then Rampart playing up to his role of being like an Imperial officer.
Yeah, it just shows they're always scum and they don't stop it.
Yeah, I liked.
You saw that grin once he got a bit of power back, and he was like, "We'll take up talking." He's like,
Yeah.
"Oh, I enjoyed that."
I forget what his line was, but it was something like, "This wasn't just a job or whatever." It was almost like he's like, "Oh, I embodied this. This is not something I just like forgot."
And
I
I think that's a big bit of foreshadowing. I think he's going to betray them, and as a result, someone's going to die, and he's going to try and use that as an excuse to get back in the Empire's good graces.
Yeah, I think that, or he's gonna try. He's gonna get too like confident with this sense of power again, and someone's gonna actually question it, and then it's all gonna collapse. Like the whole ruse is gonna collapse. But I mean, at the moment, there's only I suppose the only other time that maybe is like if they try to use him to sneak inside, because obviously it all built up to this end point of um kind of echo, like disconnect the sensors or whatever. I always forget that he on sensors he is shown as a droid because of his arm. And they're like,
Yeah,
oh, that's an unexpected droid interacting with an interface in the hangar. And you're just like, that's not a droid.
this is not the droid you're looking for.
No. But then yeah, that whole build up tense moment of like right at the last second they latch on.
Yeah, it's also just again an embodiment of the fact they're willing to risk anything to try and save Omega.
Mm,
Because if this was just like for a job to get credits to live by, Hunter's not taking the risk at that moment.
no.
He's like, no, it's fine, we'll find another way. But this is Omega. He's like, I believe in Echo, we're doing this.
Yeah. I trust in him.
Every step of that mission was infinitely more risk than Hunter would normally allow them to take.
Mm,
But he's like,
yeah,
no, it's for
100%.
Omega. So we're
Yeah.
doing it. And like even Crosshair's not like going, this is a bad idea. He's like, yep, no, let's go.
Oh yeah, they
Crosshair
all.
for all 3 seasons has been the guy who goes, "This is a really bad idea," and right now he's like, "Oh yeah, cool, let's go. I'm ready to kick ass and take names."
There was some really cool shots as well that they'd animated. I mean, like the opening of Tantis with that music, like that opening score, strangely hit really hard. There was a really cool shot where like it was an aerial of Tantis, and it was like you could see the rings, obviously, of like the entrance points, and then it transitioned into the room Omega was from above, and it was all the same like kind of matching circular pattern, which I was like, oh, that's cool,
Yeah,
and it gave me very almost similar to Andor vibes, with like the prison shots sometimes, where everything's like very symmetrical, and they would show it that way.
It's the best. Like, as much as I love Andor for a multitude of reasons, the way they captured and used the storytelling of a prison, and the
Mm,
way they captured it with everything seeming identical and it being kind of impossible to know where you are or what you were doing or this, that, or the other,
hmm
is I think one of the best ways I've ever seen it portrayed. And it's nice to see that that's bled over into other
mm.
Star Wars projects because it adds a bit of consistent feel to it.
Yeah, it gets that visual language as well across that you feel
Exactly.
like it's all happening at the same time.
Exactly.
It's going to be interesting though, because we've got 2 episodes left. This is obviously going to be a situation of Omega's going to try and break out. Emery's probably going to end up trying to help.
Uh huh.
Meanwhile, at the exact same time, you're going to have the Bad Batch boys arriving, trying to sneak in because they're not going to go full gun forcing because that's not going to
No.
work. Of which I think they are going to come across. I think Emery's going to have, not Emery, Omega's going to end up getting Emery to help, and there's conflict there is going to be that other female doctor is going to be like a clash point of like cause an issue. Then you're going to have the Bad Batch lot going in. Rampart's either going to cause an issue, or I think they're going to bump into Assassin Clone Boy, and or like Crosshair's going to have some like PTSD moment of being back.
Yeah.
Um, and I think there'll be some sort of like, as Omega's like trying to escape, she's like, wait, what the fuck? You guys are here? Sort of situation.
I need them to bump into each other in like the tunnel that Omega's found.
Or it's going to be like they manage to get all their way into the vault, get there, and they're just gone. And because they're currently in the tunnel escaping, and they're like, oh shit, we need to find where they're escaping to.
Yeah.
Rex is clearly going to be their escape plan.
Yes.
Because I imagine when they get there, then they've got the coordinates they can send them.
I imagine that's their plan.
Yeah. So there's going to be a firefight, and I think this next episode is going to be Prison Break and end with them reuniting.
It's going to end on a cliffhanger for sure.
It's going to end with them reuniting, but like also getting caught out at the same time or something going wrong. And then the last episode is going to be, I think, shit's going to go wrong. Rex comes, like cavalry arrives. Some people are going to die.
Yeah,
And
there's a lot.
I think Tantis is going to blow up. Like there's going to be like a self-destruct. Oh shit, we're compromised. Destroy the lab. Although, is there, because they've got to protect the vault? Like the samples in the vault need to be protected. So maybe there's some like they get captured, and then Hemlock's like, right, start shipping everything out, and then just leave them there and they self-destruct it or something.
Maybe.
I don't know.
It's definitely going to be interesting. Bearing in mind, we know this is the last season of the Bad Batch.
Exactly.
There only being 2 episodes to get to a satisfactory ending
I
point.
don't
It's
think we're
not
going to be.
easy.
I don't think we're going to be happily satisfied.
No, neither do I. It'll definitely be interesting to see how/if they get there.
Yeah, it really is.
On to Fallout.
Yes, our show we've been like up and down, kind of on the fence about.
We've been awaiting it.
Yes.
Do you know what this show has proven to me more than anything else?
That Halo did a terrible job.
That is a symptom rather than the conclusion I've come to.
Yeah.
We are now at a time where we can actually be confident with video games getting adaptations. Because if you think about, in reality, the last 5 years, video game adaptations have been more good than bad.
Yes, but there's not been many. How many?
2 Sonic films, Mario film, Last of Us.
Yeah, but I don't think Mario was okay. I suppose
I didn't like it, but a lot of people really did like it.
To be fair, I will say actually, the Mario world was adapted. Yeah, no, I will say, yeah, you're right. Other than the Sonic slight mishap with that first trailer, but it
But they
fixed it.
fixed that, and
Yeah.
now it's really good. Gran Turismo was another one. I know it's kind of based on a true story, but
Oh
still
no,
centered
yeah,
around the game.
I still need to watch that, but that is apparently one of the best car films in the last like 10 years.
The Witch has been incredibly popular on Netflix. I know it might not necessarily have been good to diehard fans, but it's been incredibly popular. You
I
can't
will
disagree with
say
that.
the first two seasons, yes. Season 3 then took a turn.
Five Nights at Freddy's was a huge
Yeah,
success.
true,
Like once upon a time, if you
true.
heard a video game you like was getting an adaptation, you were instantly like, "Oh fuck!" But
Yeah,
now there's like a better than 50% chance you might actually get something watchable.
true. That is true.
Which makes Halo being bad even more annoying.
Yeah, it really does.
I I was skeptical coming into Fallout.
So was I. We talked about it a few times of like,
Not it's not an easy world to get right. They were told they had to do a brand new story. It was
yeah,
scary.
it was. We were very worried that they would, because they had to do a new story, they would then lean too heavily on like Easter eggs or nods to the video game.
Which there were so many of, by the way.
There was, but I don't actually ever feel like,
They were never overwhelming.
well, not even that. They were never like, oh, I'm going to use this thing that quite clearly is a nod to an item in the video game.
Yeah.
It was all just like stuff in the background or stuff would be happening like, oh, like Radaway or
They made very
stim
very
packs.
good very good the thing prop.
Oh,
They made
yeah.
very, very good and faithful props, which just instantly put you in the universe.
Yes.
If you've played loads of Fallout, you see a stim pack, you see Radaway, you see a 10 mil pistol, you see power armor that is that faithfully recreated, you're
Mm.
like, yes, I know where I am, I know what's happening.
Oh yeah. And when obviously they did things with like using the stim packs, there was the moments where you're like, the people that know the games are like, oh, they're gonna get a stim pack. Are they getting a stim pack? Oh, they got a stim pack. Okay.
Yeah.
And then it's like, because it made sense for the situation, and then it's like, okay, they are staying faithful to like the mechanics of the world of like, there are these things that
You
can
pop
heal
stim
you.
pack, you're fine, don't worry about it.
Yeah, like there's not to like trying to make it more realistic because they feel like it needs to for the show or whatever. I think the only thing that, so I've played I've played Fallout 3 somewhat, and I played some of New Vegas. I'm not a huge Fallout game player. I haven't played a lot of them. I was very much like Skyrim and stuff. My mate, big on Fallout, and we were watching the first couple of episodes together. The only thing he'd said in them first two episodes that he was like, was the power armor. He was like,
Yes.
the jets in the arms isn't a thing. It's a jetpack on the back. Don't get why they changed that.
Yeah.
Which I get.
I did see a lot of people angry about that. Do you know what my biggest annoyance is with any criticism for the show?
Go on.
A lot of the criticism I've seen, and there has been a lot, has been the most nitpicky bullshit I've ever seen, which
Mm,
almost makes me want to disregard everything the person said, even if there is some valid criticisms in there. When you're criticizing something and it's like one valid criticism and 9 bits of nitpicky
mm.
bullshit, you're just harming the one bit of valid criticism. You're not boostering your argument with all the nitpicks.
Yeah, my attitude is if I ever, when I see people being like super nitpicky, I'm like, okay, you're clearly a very hardcore fan of the Fallout games. I get that you want it to be perfect, but there is leeway there for like small little things. Like, be a bit more relaxed about it. Things like the jetpack, I think that's a bit more of a like fair like criticism, but at the same time, it's like it doesn't take away from
It
it.
doesn't change anything. They had a
No.
jetpack. They've just changed the form factor. Like
And
it's
I
not
said to my
the
mate,
end
I
of
was
the
like,
world.
I feel like they changed the way it was done because let's be honest, this generation, of youngsters that probably would watch the show and maybe don't know Fallout, probably have seen Iron Man, understand how Iron Man's suit flies, think, oh, big iron suit, arm jet propulsion. This all makes sense to me. I can understand that. It's
And
almost like
also,
they've
it
lent into that a little bit.
means, and also, it's one less thing for them to have to make an actual prop out of.
Yeah.
Because, like, the power armor was, like, all real. Like, it
Mm-hmm.
was there, it was movable, they moved around it. If you're adding another massive, bulky component to the back of it,
Yep.
makes it a lot more difficult.
Mm-hmm.
Drop down flap CGI,
Yep.
very easy.
Yeah,
You've got to, when it comes to video game adaptations, you've got to allow a little bit for making a prop work better. And when they
mm-hmm.
were so faithful to basically every prop, you can't complain. Like, they had iguana on a stick, they had stim packs, they had laser rifles, they had laser pistols, they
Yeah,
had
the junk
Radaway.
cannon.
Yeah, the junk cannon, fusion cores looked so, like, it
Mm.
felt like I was in Fallout.
Oh yeah,
It was so good in that
that's something I think
regard.
they did an amazing job. Was like, so my mate and his girlfriend, big Fallout fans, know a lot of like the lore of the games, played them. So when they were watching, they were like, "Oh, this is like, oh, Brotherhood. This is Brotherhood of Steel, surely." Yeah, and like, they were getting all the lore references.
Yeah.
For me, I like somewhat have I have an understanding of the Fallout game and bits, and my girlfriend had like no clue. I think they did a great job for, because there's a lot of people that probably watch this have no clue about any of the Fallout lore, but I think they did a really good job of telling how the Fallout world works without making it too like nods to the games for any reason or like too over explainy. I think they did a really good job of like the time jumping back and
Yeah.
forth to like explain things and doing it in like really good points in the story.
Yeah. They kept
Um,
it relevant.
for like new fans, I think they've done an amazing job of getting them on board, which I think is why this has also been so successful. The same way
Absolutely.
The Last of Us was great for people that had never played games to like, oh, this is a great story.
Yeah. I completely agree. It's what we said when we were talking about it. It's like, you've got to have your references in there for fans,
Mm-hmm.
but don't make it, if you haven't played the game, you don't know what's going on. They
Yeah.
nailed that balance perfectly.
The
I've seen videos on YouTube. It's like 113 Easter eggs you didn't see in Fallout, and I'm not exaggerating. They had
oh, there's
113.
loads. Even
Yeah,
plenty I didn't get.
but a lot of them you don't aren't critical to understanding the
No.
story, and the ones that are critical, you still have enough information from the story to get what that thing is without needing to understand why it's also an Easter egg.
Mm-hmm.
Like the new California Republic. Obviously, for
Yes.
Fallout Vegas fans, that was huge. They're like, "Oh my god, it's the NCR!" Woo!
Mm-hmm.
To someone just watching it, they're like, "Oh, okay, cool." So there was an attempt at
Yeah.
civilization. Sandy Shores got nuked. Something went wrong. Okay, cool. Like, that balance is almost unheard of in
Mm.
video game adaptations.
The same balance that you're on about there for like the fans and new people. It's like Vault, like the Vault that we start in. So we've got 31, 32, and 33. Fans of the games know the vaults are not as they seem.
Exactly.
Every vault has its own little shtick. Um, so from the get go, my mate and his girlfriend were like they're like, what is this vault? What's its thing?
Yeah.
Trying to understand it. For new people, they're like, okay, cool. This is like vault, like, and because they've picked like a seemingly perfect vault
Yeah, a
situation.
control vault. And that's the thing. They put you in, and at first you can kind of go, okay, there might be a control vault where they're not really doing anything too
Mm.
crazy.
But
And then they
there's
just
always
slowly
something
reveal. It's
going on.
so good.
And that's the
So
thing. It's like
good.
you then get both the fans of the games and new fans both are on the same thing of trying to like the new fans are trying to figure out what the vaults are, and then also then like as they get things revealed that the vaults are different, they're like, oh wait, so what's up with this vault that we started in?
Yeah.
The fans of the games are instantly like, okay, let's figure out what's going on. What's this vault? And I also enjoyed how they kind of explained that throughout the story and slowly
Yeah.
revealed this idea that, oh, wait, the Vault Tech and all this like shady stuff that they're up to. was very cool. I looked up the timeline because I was a little confused on where this lied.
This is the most recent thing in the timeline,
Yes, because
which
obviously
I
then.
think makes sense. They're like, the games will happen before this,
Mhm.
and this doesn't have to affect anything we're doing in the future because we can make that with this in mind. It's very, very
Well, yeah,
smart.
because we knew they were told they couldn't do any existing for like storylines, which means the story couldn't be focused on a vault that had already been done. It could maybe mention certain vaults, but and then I think them picking to do it as like the most recent thing essentially gave them the freedom to be like, look, all the games are canon. That's history. You have no concept of what could have happened beyond Fallout 4 because we've not timeline wise. So it's like we have the freedom there. Apparently, they were told no one knows what, but apparently Todd Howard gave them a list of locations and storylines they weren't allowed to do because it will conflict with Fallout 5, which people are already trying to figure out.
People are like, release the list.
So the running theory that I've seen is it's gonna be in San Francisco
That'd be kind of fun.
because they're like, well, that would kind of be an easy place for Hollywood to have filmed from and do this show, and obviously after that explicitly tell them you're not allowed in case they wanted to, and people trying to work out different things. But yeah, because I also saw a lot of people talk about the timeline because of now this is for the people that I presume if you're listening to this segment of the podcast, you have seen the show. We've talked about some spoilers, not massively, really. We've kind of just broadly talked, but the end of the show shows New Vegas,
Mm-hmm.
and everyone's like, "What the fuck?" That means the games are canon. It's all collapsed and broken. Um,
People are
there's
weird.
well, someone's already gone back to the games, and there's like one of the characters. I can't like this is why I forget New Vegas very well. I forgot what the creatures are called, but he talks about the fact that like they're like eventually like if this is not kept properly, if New Vegas isn't protected, it will become overrun. So the theory is we are going to get to see New Vegas like collapsed and overrun by these creatures and post what we know from the games.
It was also really funny because there was a Deathclaw skull as well on the floor,
Mm.
and everyone was like, they see New X, and they're like, that's also they're like, wait, who the fuck killed that Deathclaw? That's terrifying. Who's responsible for that?
um, but I mean that also I would be shocked if we don't get season 2. I don't know if it's been greenlit.
I don't think it's officially been greenlit, but this show has been a phenomenal success.
Mm.
My only criticism is stop doing binge releases.
Yeah,
When you
no,
bear in mind
fair.
like how much this story builds up
Mm-hmm.
with like the detective nature of the story inside the vaults.
Yep.
What is the Ghoul's story? What is Maximus's story? What did this lady want with Lucy's dad?
Mm-hmm.
And that big reveal. Imagine if we had 8 weeks of building up to that.
Well, here,
Imagine.
let's be honest. The best way they should have done it is what we've seen a lot happen recently is first 2 episodes get released. By the end of those first 2 episodes, you've had all the characters introduced, and you're
You're
like,
ready.
okay, we've got like the 3 main characters. We know the triangle of what's going on here. We're ready to start this series. And like you say, then into weekly episode release, which we've seen Prime do with Rings of Power. So it's not like they,
Rings of Power. They do it with the boys.
yeah. So it's for whatever reason they chose to do binge. I don't know, but like
I don't know.
I would like to see them switch to weekly for season 2.
I don't know how, but we need to lobby the governments of the world to make binge dropping illegal. It's bad. It's bad for the artists. Like I know this sounds so stupid. I know it's like, oh, it's not really that deep. It's bad for the artist because this show is genuinely really good, and there's so much buzz and excitement about it online. And
Mm-hmm.
instead of getting 7 weeks, if they did a double drop and then weekly
Yeah.
episodes, which I think would have been the best way to do it for a brand new show,
Mm-hmm.
um, we're now going to have maybe 2 weeks of really, oh, this is awesome, and then it
Mm-hmm.
will go quiet again,
Yeah.
and
Yeah. No,
that
I
is
I
not
agree.
good.
I
That's
think
not good.
when you think about how much buzz this has got, and maybe they really didn't expect it to do this well, and it's like you say, you could have had 7 weeks of this building up with people
And
already
with like how dramatic the story crescendos into.
because you would have also
Come
got
on.
like the fans figuring stuff out and being like, "Oh, you're not ready for where we think this is going," or this like
And,
you don't know what they're gonna tell you next.
yeah, and like by the end of the second episode, you've got an idea like some not all is as it seems with the
Mm,
vaults. So what you get is you get a bunch of new fans who are just watching this show, find out that oh no, vaults are evil. There's always some conspiracy going on, so they get to be in with the fun straight away as well.
mm-hmm.
And also, new fans of the show who find it like now after it's been out for a week
Yep.
don't have the entire show spoiled for them.
Yes, true. That is
Like
also
I
like if you didn't
in
watch in
and
the first week, you are at risk of it being spoiled.
yeah, like don't get me wrong, it's a great show. It's very bingeable. Cool. If you are the kind of person who only wants to binge content,
Mm.
you can wait until the entire season is out and then binge it.
Mm-hmm.
There's nothing stopping you doing that.
Yeah.
But dropping it as a binge on day one ruins the show. That's why I didn't watch the last season of Umbrella Academy. Because it all dropped on one day. I watched the first episode, then I got sidetracked with other stuff. And then before you get back to it, because there's one new episode out, it's been 6 weeks where I could have found time to watch one episode, but because I'm not like, oh, there's a new one, I forget about it, it never gets watched. It's bad for everyone. And it does my head in.
Now, here's a question for you then. For
Go on.
season 2,
Uh-huh.
do you think they should just continue hard on with this story as if it's straight carrying on? Or do you start from the perspective of another vault, but merges
Oh,
into this time at the same timeline, but
do like
merges into
do like 3 seasons of tangential storylines that end up with a fourth season where all roads lead to New Vegas.
something like that? Or like, yeah, you have another vault that it's just added into the mix.
There's definitely a way it can work. However, leaving fans with the last thing they see being New Vegas and then leaving it alone again might go very badly for you, even if season 2 is really good. What I will say is an absolute certainty is I need a Deathclaw in season 2. With the quality of the CGI and the props and everything, I need our protagonist, be it Lucy, be it someone else, whatever. I need our protagonist being terrified fighting a Deathclaw. I've already seen some people online saying they should literally do a 40-minute episode, which is basically just a straight up horror episode of trying to escape, fight, survive an encounter with a Deathclaw.
I mean,
And,
yeah.
and I'm here, I'm like, it definitely can work. 100% it can work. Make it essentially a Jurassic Park episode.
Yeah. I mean, some of the like fight moments from this season 1 were great. Like the I forget what the bears are called, but the mutant bears.
Yeah.
The
Yao guys.
Yeah. Like those moments, so well done. Like, and that's the thing. There was so much mystery and intrigue to this season or to the show, but there was so many funny moments as well.
Oh, I loved the twist in whatever vault they ended up in, Vault 4, was it? Where she's like, oh my god, they're experimenting on these people. And then they're like, no, we're not experimenting on them. They were experimented on by Vault-Tec, you people, years ago. We're just trying to keep them out of pain. That twist is it's such a good twist.
Well, it's also the tie-in as well to the Vault 4 was the one that was in the old, like when it's in the flashbacks, and you're like, oh, this is the one with the scientists. And then you're like, oh shit, this is what the scientists got up to. And they've continued, and this idea that because we've seen in Vault 33, like it's just forever been carried on, you think, oh shit, they've been carrying this on. Like that's just their protocol.
That's
Not
why
this.
they've been bringing people from the surface to experiment on them. Look at all these mutants everywhere.
Especially because it also showed like the pan back when they're in that room and it says test subjects. and you think, oh shit, okay, and then it's like, no, it's all like they're just trying to
Yeah,
exist.
we just haven't relabeled the fucking room.
Yeah, and then at the end when you think, oh well, she's dead, and he's about to go mental with his power armor, and then he's just like, and you are free, and she's like,
and
wait,
and
what?
because we're sentencing you to death in the overworld, here is 2 weeks of supplies.
Which get
Like,
destroyed.
it's like, but you know what that encounter is as well? It is the most like Bethesda RPG encounter ever.
Mhm.
You're like there, like, oh, can I talk my way out of this? Fail check, persuasion fail,
Yeah,
persuasion fail. You're like, oh fuck, I'm gonna have to fight my way out of here. How many guys are there's like 100 people? This encounter's gonna be fucking nuts. You consider save scumming to just get the nice talk
yeah,
way out of it, and then they're like, here is free stuff. Meanwhile, you've already started shooting, and you're like, oh wait, what?
yeah, it really is.
Like, it just captured that feeling of the RPG so well.
It did.
Exactly like what we said with D&D Honor Among Thieves.
Mm.
Another video game or
Yeah,
game
true.
that got adapted really well. Because there was moments in D&D where you're like, no, I could see that happening in the game.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
that,
yeah.
like I can imagine that scene. There was a couple of bits like that in the game,
Oh yeah,
in the
there
show
really
that were
was.
just so good. I loved it.
It was
so
so
much.
well. It was really well done, and
Um,
definitely
it-
has made me kind of wish I'd given the Fallout games more of my time.
Yeah, no, that's. I mean, they're all on Game Pass now.
Well, yeah, I will
Um,
potentially. I will do them.
But yeah, it's quite upset me that they didn't go for a weekly release. Yes, obviously I'm happy that I've seen the entire story now,
Mhm.
but I was hooked after the first 2 episodes.
Yeah, I know
So
what you
we'd
mean.
be sat here right now, having watched the first 2 episodes, just excited for the next 6 weeks.
Yeah, I mean, for our selfish take, it would have been great content for us for 7 weeks, but we only talked about it for one.
Would have been.
I'm sure we'll
And I
talk
think
about it
would have done the
again,
show
though.
better. Absolutely, and I can't wait for season 2. One thing that I did see that really made me laugh. So obviously the director for this was Jonathan Nolan.
Yeah, for like the most of the
Yeah,
episodes.
he wrote all of it, I believe, or at least co-wrote all of it,
Hmm.
and he was the director of like half the episodes, I think.
I think something like that.
So
Brothers.
of course, yeah, within a year, his brother released a film about the birth of the atomic bomb, and he released
That's
a
a good
show
point.
about
the use of it.
The atomic bomb. And I didn't even click, but that's such a weird, funny, unnecessary, because it's not like
Yeah.
the same style of content.
No, and it's
But
not
just,
like
it's really funny.
it wouldn't have been planned or anything. It's just
No,
happened.
of course it wouldn't.
It's just
They were just
pure
working on their
coincidence.
things.
Are we saying that we just need a Nolan? We just need to make sure a Nolan directs a TV show and it'll be good, like a game TV show.
Yeah, the third Nolan brother isn't really in the film industry. He's in the killing people industry.
Yeah.
he's a hitman that's on the run.
Well,
or maybe in prison. I can't remember which. But yeah, I hope we get an official word of a season 2 soon.
Yeah.
It's been crazy that Fallout 76, I believe, has seen its highest ever player base.
Yes, it has.
As a result of this
huge margin as well.
Which shows how much
and
this show's done.
Fallout 4 got an update.
It's getting an update on the 25th or the 23rd, okay. Sorry.
I think Fallout 76 did get a bunch of new weapons and stuff added that people believe tied
Fallout
into.
Shelter got an update. That added Maximus, Lucy, the Ghoul.
Oh, well, there you go.
I believe it adds the dog X04 or whatever his name was. As a pet that you can get in the game.
That's cool.
Like, yeah, so it's been done really well. I hope we get more seasons of this. And it once again goes to show, as long as you're faithful in capturing the world, the story shouldn't be as hard, realistically.
Yeah, if you can nail the vibe of the world, that was like the world building, and make you feel like you are in the same world as the games, and you can fit, as long as the story stays true to that, like you can write a story from scratch. Especially in the world of Fallout, the idea of all these vaults being different, like you've got so much freedom there.
Now people are going, they want a Skyrim show. Called Game of Thrones, people.
It kind of is.
But yeah, love it. I want a second season, and if you haven't already, consider go watching it on
Oh yeah,
Prime Video.
definitely go watch it for sure.
Shall we discuss some nerdy news, Mr. Zontal?
Yes, we have quite a bit of nerdy news this week.
We do have quite a bit. So let's start with something that I've been debated by before.
And potentially have again.
Is developing a AAA Invincible game
Oh, not
with a
quadruple A.
fundraising campaign going alongside it. So it must have been just over a year ago now that they announced that an Invincible game was coming. And I started bouncing off the ceiling and the walls with excitement. And then we got baited because it was a mobile turn-based game. And I was very sad.
Yeah.
They've specified it's a AAA game this time.
AAA mobile.
Again, I'm going to manage my expectations because, as we said, it's a fundraising campaign, which means this game is going to have a cycle to it.
Yeah.
There is a very limited world in which I don't at least buy this game just to support Skybound, and hopefully there's a good game that comes out of it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I love superheroes. I love video games. Like it's one of them bits where you're like, even if this is really bad, it could still be like an all-time classic in the shit games that we love category.
Yeah.
And if it's really good, it could bring back to life the superhero video game, which a lot of people are trying to do at the minute.
I will say, with it having like a fundraising campaign alongside that obviously public can put into, it almost holds them an accountability of not doing any shitty practices that we see video game studios like to try and do nowadays. Because everyone who has backed that will kick up a fuss. And then that just means bad publicity for a game that probably is going to be like, yes, it might be AAA, but essentially this is an indie style release of doing a game.
In reality, we worked out at the end of season 2 of Invincible that based on the speed they're adapting comics to shows, that we've probably got 8 or 9 seasons.
Yeah.
If this game comes out at the end of season 9, which I know is miles away, but say we get all 9 seasons and this game comes out at the end of it, that gives them 7 years to make it.
Yeah.
I'll wait 7 years if it's worth it.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's the thing. People, like, time to make a game doesn't matter as long as the game is good on release.
Yes. Speaking of seasons, Invincible has reportedly been renewed for seasons 4 and 5. This information was put on the Skybound website, like with all their metrics for the year.
Yeah.
This information has since been removed, so they might have leaked that when they didn't mean to.
Yeah.
Or it might not actually be true, and they think it's going to happen any day now, but they haven't officially had it greenlit yet, so they can't advertise it yet.
I wonder if it's in the process of being greenlit.
I mean, it's a done deal.
And they
Let's
thought
be honest.
things would be signed and done by the time of this announcement, and it wasn't, and it got forgotten to be taken off. Like, it was put on there because they thought it'd already be organised and done, but then maybe it's stuck in some like legal thing at the moment.
Hot take.
Go on.
That kind of goes along with what we said. Prime Video right now. Is it one of the most trustworthy streaming platforms? In the sense of, if they do something good, you can be confident that it's not going to get thrown to the side like Netflix have famously done.
I would say so. They've had the most hits.
Just think about it. The Boys came out of nowhere. And now we're getting ready to go on season 4 and it's had a spin-off.
Yeah.
Invincible, again, indie, pretty small. We've now got season 3 guaranteed with strong indications we're getting at least seasons 4 and season 5.
Yeah.
The Reacher show.
Yeah.
Phenomenal success. Fallout now, although it hasn't officially been greenlit yet, I am confident based on their track history that it will get greenlit. Whereas when Netflix releases something good, I'm sat there on tenterhooks going, are they going to release another season? or are they just going to pretend they never released the first one and release another period piece smut book adaptation? Fucking Bridgerton.
No, I think I
like
think that's a fair assessment.
I have my feelings about Jeff Bezos, billionaires, and Amazon specifically. But
Mm.
Prime Video right now might be, as a consumer who cares about the shows they like not getting canned, they might be the most trustworthy.
I feel like Amazon as a streaming for Prime Video, Netflix got to a point where they wanted to be hands on with everything. Like it got to a point that like they'll buy your idea and then they're hands on. They want too much control. Whereas the vibe I get from Prime Video is, I mean, look at Critical Role's animated thing is also on Prime.
Yeah.
They see a great idea for a show that obviously every streaming site probably is like, this is a great show. Prime goes, here's your budget, make it for us. You can decide the release style. You can decide, like, we don't care. We'll host it. We get revenue from it. Here's your budget. Boom.
And do you know what I think this is? Netflix are like, we're going to do original stuff.
Mm.
And a lot of it ends up being meh or having quite a small but loyal fan base.
Mm-hmm.
What Prime are doing is, there's good stories over there. Adapt
We'll back
them
it
for us.
Prime's doing like the old school like publisher thing of, we just give you the money, you make the film, we back it.
Oh,
Netflix
these
wants
Jack
to
Reacher
be
books are massively successful. Go adapt them.
Yeah.
Oh, that independent comic book that never really got a chance but is widely acclaimed as really good. Adapt it. That shit comic book that's quite edgy and we can use to poke fun at stuff. Adapt it.
Yeah, and then it's like Netflix is just like, no, we want to be the publisher and the producer at the same time and want full.
Inherently a bad thing.
No, they've
there's
kind of gone too.
thing.
Yeah, they've gone like full creative control on everything that they put out, and it's like sometimes you've got to be hands off and just like, if there's a good idea, just let the good idea run.
Exactly. In yet another step towards streaming services just becoming TV, Disney Plus will be adding channels that play franchises or genres on a constant schedule, like a Star Wars channel or a Marvel channel. Reports the information. What are we doing, folks?
I mean, so I'm
cable
not
and satellite TV. Now we've just got internet TV.
I'm not against this. Like, I think certain things work for this if it's Disney. Let's be honest. Disney Plus is probably used by a lot of parents to put stuff on for their kids.
Mm-hmm.
You could very easily have a like Disney Kids one, which just shows like kid-friendly Disney films on like a cycle or shows or whatever they've got, and you can just put it on for your kid. Also, you could have a Disney animated, and you just have like the Star Wars animated stuff, the Marvel animated stuff on like a daily, and you can tune it in at any point.
I do get your point. Do you want to know what my actual issue is?
Go on.
There are upkeep costs with having a stream available 24/7 to God knows however many people, and that needs to be scalable. If no one's watching it, it doesn't need to have as much bandwidth. But if all of a sudden 100,000 people click on it, you need to be able to service all of them instantly. Yeah?
Mm.
Which means they'll need to upgrade their infrastructure to be able to house it and not affect just regular streaming. Or they need to leave it how it is and it will affect regular streaming. Which means streaming might be affected by it, or they're going to have to charge us even more money to be able to support this when no one wants it. Have you ever met a single person that's gone, oh, I really like Netflix, or I really like Prime Video, or I really like Disney Plus, but I just wish I could put it on and it would just play whatever crap?
The only situation I've heard people will be happy about or something like this was actually with Crunchyroll for anime. Crunchyroll has one it's coming out very soon where you'll be able to just tune in and watch, and it'll just be like an anime channel. But that's because there's so many animes. Sometimes you need something like that to discover an anime, if that makes sense.
It's just I just don't think it makes sense. I don't think
I
Star Wars channel or a Marvel channel is going to get usage.
I'm okay if it's a separate tier that you get charged for. So for the cost of it, if they're like, oh, you want Disney Plus Live, and they charge it as a separate thing, like you have normal subscription plus live for the people that then want those.
Yeah, I think they're more likely to just give everyone it, and then in a year after it's gone live, just go, oh, because we're giving you this new thing that you all love, we're now charging you more money, and that's the way the business works. And that's what's concerning me about it. I don't think it's needed, wanted, anything.
We'll see.
Like, when was the last time you sat down to watch TV and you just put on a random fucking channel to see what happened?
Never anymore.
Exactly. Because you either know what you want to watch, and I'm sure you're like me, if you don't know what you want to watch, you'll have a show that you're binging that you've seen a million times just to be background noise, or you will let YouTube autoplay.
Well, yeah, this thing. If I don't know what my going to TV and putting something random on is me going to the YouTube homepage and seeing what's recommended to me.
Exactly. And I get that, yes, we are younger, but guess what? We're the people who killed TV. Stop trying to sell us TV. We already took it out back with a shotgun. Don't try and bring it back. Adapt or die. Like, I just, it's dumb. It's dumb. It's dumb. It's dumb. No one, not even the person who managed to sell Bob Iger on this shit idea, could convince me that this is anything other than shit. Transformers 1 trailer's been released.
It has. I'm going to say, not what I expected, but not necessarily disappointed in what I saw.
We're very, very similar here. I am a touch disappointed.
Okay.
After the hype around it that we saw from CinemaCon, where they got a little look at it, I was expecting an animation style more befitting to what we've come used to with Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Spider-Verse, X-Men 97.
We hadn't been told it was like that. We just read animation, presumed with the hype that has been with Spider-Verse and that style, that, oh, of course they'll do that because that's the current trend of visual, and we're excited for that. I will say, although it's not what I expected in the animation style, and while personally I might have enjoyed a bit more like that and a bit of a more adult like direction of story and vibe, this looks fun. It looks, the easiest way I can describe it, it looks like Transformers crossed with like Lego movie vibe.
Yes. Do you want to know one thing that really didn't sit right about the visual of it?
Go on.
Everything seemed a bit too smooth and round. Like, when
Do you
I
know-
think of
so-
Transformers, I'm thinking of a mech, and it's Optimus Prime with his big chest, and it's straight lines and sharp-looking edges. And instead, it's just, everything's just been curved and softened out a little bit. And I just like, it doesn't.
Do
It
you know what this
feel
is?
imposing.
Unfortunately, this film isn't for our generation.
But I'm the person who's going to buy the ticket, Ori.
Yeah, but no, I think this. Unfortunately, we want, like, because we've grew up with the Transformers films. It's been ages since we've had like a Transformers animated show. With X-Men 97 and our love for animation, we want those shows kind of, or those franchises, to go back to animation a bit, have a bit of an adult sort of direction with the story, and we get this cool visual style that we're loving. Unfortunately, I can tell you right now, this has the thing. If you think like our childhood TV shows, right? Fireman Sam, Bob the Builder, Postman Pat, if you watch them now, they look so weird because they're in 3D animation, no longer like stop motion, what we remember. This has that same vibe of they've gone with that modern kids visual for an animated show.
Yeah, it's just like, look at this picture I'm sending you now. Yeah. So this is what the way they're putting the Transformers looks like now.
Mm-hmm.
Which I'm not saying is bad. But then when you just Google Optimus Prime, I'm just sending you a picture of one of the toys that was made from like old school Optimus Prime design. It's just a lot, and it might not necessarily be a good thing or a bad thing. It's thrown me off because of how much boxier
Yeah.
they used to
Do you know
be,
what it
and it
is?
just feels weird.
We, unfortunately, this is a Transformers to start for a new generation, which is the disappointing thing. Actually, is we wanted this to be an
Oh,
animated show for us still. Unfortunately, they're doing that thing where they visually redesign slightly, like our kids' shows when they became 3D animation. Everything became like smoother and strangely like rounder and like didn't look right. It's the same here. They're gonna do new toys that all look like this, that are no longer boxy, and it's gonna be like this sleek, futuristic look.
I
And
don't know. Maybe I'm finally old.
yeah, I think unfortunately this trailer made me realize I was like, what I had in my head of what I wanted from a Transformers like lent towards all the anime I've been watching with mechs, and then I was like, oh wait, this is a film for kids. This isn't
How
for
old's your
me.
nephew?
For yeah,
Show it
for
to him. If he goes, "Oh my god, robots, that's awesome," we're officially old.
oh, he probably will.
If he looks at it and goes, "Why does Optimus Prime look so skinny? Get that bitch
He
in the gym."
he
He's
won't. He doesn't even know who Optimus Prime is.
Oh!
I
What
think
do
the
kids even watch now? Is it all just Skibbity Toilet?
no, they like Bluey, which to
To
be
be fair,
fair,
Bluey's based. Bluey's based. Yeah, no, that's fine.
um,
Is Dora still popping? I don't know.
Peppa Pig's still popping.
Is Peppa Pig still cutting her out?
Yeah, my nephew's like
What a goat.
wants to watch Peppa Pig. There's other like
Yeah.
random
But don't get me
shows.
wrong, the film looks good, the story looks good, it's an interesting take. I am just in myself a little bit disappointed with the visuals. I don't think it looks bad, but it wasn't the style I was hoping for.
Yeah, I, I
Um,
I think it looks like a fun film that has Lego Movie vibe. It's a visual style that is not what I was hoping for, and maybe that's because I'm biased, like I said, from all the like Gundam and stuff I've been watching of what I was like would love. But it doesn't mean it'll be a bad film. I'm sure it
no, it
might do
doesn't.
well.
We'll probably end up giving it a chance and see what we think.
Potentially, yeah.
Now I know this is a little bit out there, but it posed an interesting question to me in my monologue.
Okay.
Quentin Tarantino, who famously said he's only got one more film he's going to make,
Mm-hmm.
The Movie Critic, has now decided that he won't make The Movie Critic, and his last film will be something else.
Mm.
Is this a bad idea? Is he going to spend so long searching for the perfect final story to tell that he never tells one? Now, he is quite young, so this isn't as big a concern as if it was like a Martin Scorsese going,
Mm.
there's one more film I want to make, and then just going, no, it's something else.
Mm-hmm.
But Tarantino's always said he's going to make 10 films, whatever the fuck it is. And after Hollywood, I forget what the fucking title's called. He said, I've got one more that I'm going to make. It's going to be called The Movie Critic. And then he went to work.
Mm-hmm.
Now he's just ditched this out of nowhere. He's gone, no, that wasn't right. I'm starting fresh. Do you think it becomes kind of a very artistic thing? And I think like we're not Quentin Tarantino, obviously. We're both quite creative people, so we've been there where you want to do something like to finish something off, and then you just keep on tweaking it and tweaking it and tweaking it and tweaking it, and then you're like, no, I've ruined it. I throw it away and I start again. And as a result, you never actually finish.
Um. Yes, he might get stuck trying to find this perfect final one. I as a career person, I'm totally on board of just no matter how far along you are, if it suddenly it just doesn't feel right anymore, it's just been it. Like it's fine. Just move on. Um there's yes, to a certain degree you should always try and just finish and then move on. But I mean, if he's got so far into this and he's just like, this story isn't actually, like, the visual, like, the initial seed of an idea hasn't actually turned into what I would hope for a film, and it's not hitting. There's no point in him trying to force it, and then he doesn't enjoy his last film.
I think I'm just double checking this right now. I think this is now already, since he started making films, the longest we've gone without a film he's directed. And I think that kind of lends to that idea of, like in search of perfection, you're never going to find the finish line. And I do just wonder if there will be a case of he's like, no, it has to be perfect. It has to say the right thing. And he doesn't realize that actually this thing he's decided isn't good enough is still his best work. I could
I
see the final Tarantino film ending up being a film someone else has made about his last 30 years of life in search of the perfect film.
I mean, I could definitely see this getting to a situation where he's just like, and I think actually maybe he needs to do this, which is like actually go, you know what? I can't decide on a 10 film. Maybe I'll never make the 10th film. I'm okay with that. I'm not gonna try and come up with it anymore. I'm done. And probably him stopping and not like and just moving away from the idea of it will then probably suddenly you'll just get like 5, 10 years down the line. He goes, oh yeah, by the way, I'm releasing a 10th film. I had this idea. It came to me out of nowhere. Um, Surprise.
I just, and again, maybe this is going to be an unpopular opinion. I think if you are genuinely an artist who loves the art, putting such a limit on yourself feels a little bit egotistical. I
Mm,
think Tarantino going, no, this is going to be my last one and then I'm done. I think that is less respectful to the art and more making it about him than if he does what so many people have done and he keeps making films until they're shit and no one wants to watch them. Because that's then like the passion for the filmmaking. I want to tell stories. I want to do things. I want to do that. I want to do the other. Whereas it feels like he wants to be the guy who goes out at the peak of his game. And I think that's more about him as a person than telling stories. Like, put it this way. Right now, we have not that many subscribers. We don't get that many views. We just
mhm,
do this for the passion of it.
mhm.
Over the next 2 years, it explodes.
Yep,
Yeah, we're doing really well. We get to episode, I don't know what, 300, say,
yep.
and we're like at the peak of our game. We're still enjoying it, but because we're at the top, we want to just put it down and go, right, we're off, bye. Even though we're still loving it and don't want to stop doing it, but we want to leave at the top.
Mm,
Or would we? As of right now, obviously life changes. As of right now, I'd be like, no, I'm going to ride this jet into the fucking ground because I love doing this. I don't care if by the end of our arc we're doing worse than we were at the fucking beginning. I love doing this. I'm not going to stop. And I think I'd have more respect for Tarantino if he was kind of at the case of, I've decided that the movie critic isn't good enough to be my last film, but I still want to tell the story, so I'm going to tell it, and then we'll work on whatever my next one is. I think. Do you know what it is? You know the quote from The Office, which is, "I wish you knew you were in the good old days while you're in them."
mm.
Yeah, it's a beautiful quote, but it's actually shit because then you don't appreciate it because you just sat there going, "Oh, this is great." The entire time he's making this last film, knowing it's his last film, he's just going to be going around screaming at actors, going, "This is the last film they're going to fucking make. I need you to give it your soul. I need you to bleed for this film." Instead of just make the fucking film and see what happens.
It's tough because it's like the creator in me understands the whole. Sometimes, like the idea, like you try and do an idea and it just doesn't work, and then it's like I think he's definitely more artist than director in him or
Hmm.
filmmaker. That is just like I want to do a set body of work, and that is my.
I get that.
He's viewing it as like 10 films. It's a body of work. It's a collection. It seems like a good, and I think maybe he needs to change it. Or like maybe he needs to change his perspective to be like, yeah, you can end on 10 as being like writer, director, producer, but then maybe you just dabble in the film industry afterwards, whether you like help produce something or you help do like
My big issue isn't him going, "This isn't the right one," because don't
eh,
get me wrong,
I
if
get
he's
that.
worked on this and gone, the story isn't there, that's fine. I'm more concerned that he's been working on this one for so long, and now he's
Yeah,
and when talking about it, he's been very clear. I've decided this can't be my last one, so I'm getting rid of it, because that's how it's phrased. It's not, "This isn't the right one. My last one's going to be something else." It's, "This one can't be my last one, so I'm on to a different idea." Which makes it more sound of he thinks there's still a story there to be told, but it's not worthy of being his last film.
yeah, but
And
that's just
that's
an
my bigger
artist.
concern.
Yeah, but that's just an
Um,
artist being an artist.
I'd rather him go the Scorsese route, which is just, I'm going to keep on working on films till I fucking die. And I don't care. I want to make as many films as possible. Because that's Scorsese just loving cinema, man. He's just like, I want to make films. I want to keep making films. I'm going to die in a director's chair. I don't care. I want to make films. Um, what's the gentleman the Megapolis director who spent like years
I don't know.
financing the film? Francis Ford Coppola. Like, when was the last film he made before this? It was fucking years ago now. Yeah, sorry, the Godfather director. I'm going to get shot by someone. Um, he's not made a film since 2010. Yeah, because he spent the last 15 years building up a very successful wine business so that he could use the money from that to fund this film that no one wanted to fund for him. Like, that's
It's
passion, man. I love it. I love art. Artists never stop being artists, for the love of God.
I still have their own perspective. I think Quentin's just comes from less about an artist of filmmaking, just like his medium for art is film. It's less
Yeah, no,
about
I
the
get that.
craft of a film, and it's like he just wants to do a set body of work. And I don't, I think him going, this doesn't fit with his vision of what he wants. That's yeah, I get it. Ditch it, move on, find the next one, follow the next idea, see where that goes. Maybe you'll get stuck here forever. Maybe you won't.
That would be the most artistic thing that he could do at this point, in my opinion, for the next 30 years or however long he lives. Just going, "Ah, it's not right, it's not right, it's not right, it's not right," and like it being that, oh, Tarantino never released his final film, and like that's how the documentary on his life ends. I don't know. A24 has had its best ever opening weekend and its first ever #1 in the domestic box office
Ah, didn't know
with
I'd heard that.
Civil War, filmed by Alex Garland, that's piquing a lot of interest. I haven't been to see it. I'm really tempted. I don't know if I'm going to be able to find time with the move and stuff. Is the only thing, but it's basically like alternate timeline America, where
Yeah,
essentially, in the most unrealistic thing possible,
unrealistic.
Texas and California have teamed up
I mean,
against America.
people say that's unrealistic. I don't actually think it's that unrealistic.
I mean, yeah, the reason it seems unrealistic is it's like the most democratic state versus the most Republican state. So the whole idea is, how the fuck would they ever agree on things? But Alex Garland's point is, no, this is the point. What the other regime is doing is so despicable in their eyes that they can put aside their feelings on gay rights and guns and
Mm.
abortion and religion and things like that, because they can both just sit down and go, okay, we need to deal with that. We'll talk about this later. We need to deal with that.
It
Um,
it did look, and then when I saw the trailers and stuff, I have been intrigued and wanted to see this. So the fact that it's doing well makes me want to go watch this even more. And it's
it's
A24.
also, yeah, it's nice to see A24 is getting more domestic and box office success,
Mm.
because hopefully that means they'll be able to finance more things. I'm sure they've had plenty of things they wanted to do that they couldn't find the capital for. By having more and more success and then becoming a more recognizable producer that
Hmm.
people are like, A24, it's worth a shot.
Yep.
I mean, The Rock announced he's doing a project of A24, and instantly everyone went, wait, is The Rock going to try doing real acting? They didn't go, oh, is A24 doing a dumb action film? They went, is The Rock going to do some proper, like, heartfelt acting? That's the brand A24 has built for itself.
Oh yeah, it's building a
so
great brand in the film industry.
It's always nice to see, especially with the state of cinema at the minute, someone like A24 doing better and better.
Also, I'm down. I was down to watch Americans Implode.
Yeah. At CinemaCon, so this was last Thursday evening. It happened as we were recording, and then we saw. Yeah, all this stuff happened literally as we hit stop recording.
As always.
At CinemaCon, the new Thunderbolts logo was revealed, and it included an asterisk, which Kevin Feige claimed they won't be talking about until after the film's release. What? What do you mean? Do you know what annoys me more? The fact that he drew attention to it and then, but we're not going to talk about it.
Do you know what my guess is? We know we got also a teaser for the new Captain America New World Order, whatever it's renamed to. And in that teaser, apparently it's him being told to do what Captain America should do. Basically, like, stop fucking about, do it how we think Captain America should be. And he's like, no. What if, from who we know is in Thunderbolts, it's very, like, government-selected heroes. What if the Thunderbolts asterisk is because they're trying to make them be the new Avengers?
Oh, I think that's exactly what it is.
And it's gonna be Thunderbolts asterisk because that's like the plan name for Avengers 2.
Yeah. It's gonna be like I don't want to get I'm supposed to be the comic guy here. I don't want to get shouted out getting this wrong. So I think it's actually going to end up being Secret Avengers.
Okay.
Because the Secret Avengers are essentially a Black Ops government unit.
There you go then.
So I think they're going to take the Thunderbolts, which was kind of a little bit less superhero-y, but the same idea. And because Ross wants them to be an Avengers team, they're actually going to end up calling themselves the Avengers at the end of that.
But secretly.
Yeah, I think we're definitely on the right lines. The whole idea is it's Thunderbolts, but they actually, in reality, want everyone to start thinking, okay, why are they not really the Thunderbolts? I've got to be honest. I think it's most likely that it's just going to be the team actually goes by a different name. I would really like it if this entire film was a fucking bait and switch for like a massively important film like Avengers 5 or some shit. And like they get all these people on set, none of it really matters. They put a mock trailer together for this Thunderbolts film, and then we sit down and we just get like Guardians, Avengers, X-Men, just like a big on fucking ensemble. And then we just sat there for 3 hours going, this is what the fucking Thunderbolts.
What if it's like it says Thunderbolts and then the asterisk on the title card, as they do like the little setup, and then they do the title, and then right at the bottom in small text it just says, "This is actually Avengers 5, but we didn't want to tell anyone." And people only at the start of the film like, "Wait, what did that just say at the bottom?"
Because like, here's the thing: once people are in the cinema, you can drop the illusion of that title straight away.
Yeah.
You can literally have in like not even that small writing along the bottom, just in an asterisk, Avengers versus X-Men.
Yeah.
Like, you can do that.
This is true.
Don't get me wrong. If it goes wrong, it's seen as a marketing and PR nightmare. And I don't think that is what it's going to be. They're just playing around with the concept of maybe this isn't actually the Thunderbolts team. Maybe it's the new Avengers team. Maybe it's the Secret Avengers. Maybe it's the Dark Avengers, whatever. But I think it would be really funny if it ends up being a completely different film.
Yeah, it would be.
But in less mind melting news and more, I would say, really good news,
Mm.
Kevin also said that Marvel movies deserve the big screen treatment. They deserve to be seen in cinema. They deserve to be an event.
Yep.
And in an effort to make that step in the right direction, they're going to be filming on IMAX going
Mm-hmm.
forward, most notably with Thunderbolts and Fantastic Four.
Yes.
I think this is really good news. We've been not as negative as a lot of people, but we
Mm-hmm.
have noted some of the failings of the MCU in more recent times. I think
Yep.
them, instead of worrying about pumping out 4 films a year, which we know they're making an effort to avoid doing,
Yep.
they are going, no, let's tell stories. Let's make it impactful and meaningful,
Mm-hmm.
like they did, I think, with the Marvels.
Mm-hmm.
And like they were trying to do with a lot of stuff, they just missed the mark. I think they're now going all in on that idea of like 2 films a year, maybe 3 on a really big year. All made really high quality. It's ready when it's ready.
Yep.
And IMAX is just, it helps. Even if like a lot of people don't go see it in IMAX, it helps sell that idea that we're really trying to care about what we're doing.
Yeah, and
And
I
it's not
also
a cheap investment. IMAX cameras aren't cheap.
no, but
Like
I
that's a
think
substantial investment.
it's also like their way of trying to incentivize people to go to the cinema more to watch it, because let's be honest, look at Oppenheimer, it got huge talk about going to watch it in IMAX. Like, it was made for IMAX. You should go watch it in IMAX. It is a cinema experience to go to IMAX for. They're obviously wanting trying to capitalize on like that public reception to when something is on IMAX to get
And I
people to
think,
come back and watch the films in the cinema.
and I almost think that's what cinema needs. It needs to go to this idea of, no, you don't just go to the cinema to see any old shit. It's an
Mm.
experience.
Mm-hmm.
You go to the cinema to see a thing. You go get your snack of choice. If it's not popcorn, you're a bit weird. You get your drink of choice. You sit down in the IMAX screen, which is bigger. It's got more impressive sound system that
Mm-hmm.
always leaves me with a little bit of a headache, but a nice kind of headache. And you get ready to just be like absorbed by what you're watching. And
Mm.
I also think, while IMAX makes a good film great, it also makes a bad film really poor.
Mm.
Because if you can't use the IMAX and everything that you like unlock
Properly,
with
yeah.
that to trap someone in the story, it
Mm.
becomes very obvious you're not in the story, and then people are going to go, "What the fuck was that?" Like June Part 2 is an IMAX film. Will that
Mm.
film still be good when you're just watching at home without surround speakers? Yes, of course it will. It's a brilliantly put together film. But when I'm in the cinema watching that in IMAX, I forget there's people next to me.
Mm.
I'm on Arrakis watching this fucking happen. I don't know there's people around me. And that is why IMAX is so important. And it's quite exciting
Mm.
that Marvel want to get into that. And bear in mind how excited we are for like the artistic appeal of Fantastic Four and what we've seen
Mm.
so far,
Yes.
with like this potential alternate timeline that's a bit neo-futuristic or retro-futuristic rather. In IMAX could just be
Yeah,
so good.
get Fantastic Four and some anamorphic film lenses on
Oh,
IMAX to fit the
it's
vibe of
exciting.
the era.
It's so exciting.
It is very
But
exciting.
that is where we're going to leave you with all that excitement. It's been a pleasure as always. We'll be
Yes, it
back
has.
next week with more Bad Batch, more X-Men, more nerd news, more everything. If you
Mm.
haven't already, consider liking, consider subscribing. They are both them big buttons down below, and we'll catch you next time.
Catch you next week.